All right, recording 2. Boom.
2.
Yeah, I'm recording as well.
Oh, I thought you said recording 2. I was like, this is our first one. Anywho. Oh my God.
Oh, I didn't know we were starting. You didn't indicate that this was beginning.
He did the throat clear, I assumed, right?
He
I don't know.
always does that.
When the meeting says the meeting is now recording, that means it's going to start.
1, 2, 3, 4. Just trying to stay alive. Some days I wanna die, but I don't wanna say goodbye.
It doesn't always just start, but that's okay. Continue, Mikey.
Thank you. Thank you. Drink your discreet drink that you have there that no one can see what it is. It's probably just Everclear in a bottle.
Oh my God.
She's
You would have been on the floor. Whew.
It's a Corona.
Oh,
It's
gross.
time.
Lights because I'm watching my figure.
I'm watching mine expand. This is Slashers, your favorite podcast of the new year regarding your favorite horror media. I am your host, Mikey, and with me today is the wonderful special guest, 6'5", damn he fine, suck it to me one more time, Austin from Frightmares Podcast and Aid. Say hello to the mutant goons from beyond, boys.
Wow. Hello. That was probably one of the greatest intros of all time that I've ever had, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello.
I'm sorry Aid's not all in it today, everybody. Just kidding. I just did that right now. I actually had it all planned out to be like, and Adrian, my ghoul friend. Yeah.
Whatever. I've been replaced, and not even by a girl, by Austin. So how am I supposed to feel about that?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, Aston.
Whoa, listen.
That's what
No,
she said,
no
not
pants
me.
Austin. No pants Austin over here.
Yeah.
So
It gets too hot in here, man.
whatever.
Austin the poo. Anyways, welcome back to the show. How are you guys doing?
Oh, you're gonna kill me, Mikey.
Uh-oh. Why? Was that your microphone?
Maybe.
Okay, well now you sound better. Hey, I don't care. You're gonna have shitty audio in the beginning of the show, but it's fine now.
Oh my God. And here I am, I'm talking in it, and I'm like, oh.
I thought it sounded slightly different. I was like, is that?
I love that neither of you said anything. Like, what is that?
I thought maybe I was going crazy. I was like, I don't think it sounds like that, but I mean, who am I to say? I have a terrible memory.
And I'm just hoping for your downfall. Whatever. I mean, whatever. Either way.
Goodness.
It's Friday. Mistakes were made.
Thank
We
God.
are entering the second week of January. How's the first week been treating you guys? I know we have been oversaturated with all these trailers that have just been released, not just horror, because at work yesterday, they were playing all the new trailers coming out, and it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Any of them catch your fancy?
Evil Dead Rise, for sure. Red Band trailer, though. Make sure you watch the Red Band trailer, because I didn't even know they dropped 2. They dropped the Red Band, and then I saw the other version, which is the regular one. Watch the Red Band. It's very gory, but that one for sure for me. Very excited for that.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I cringed when I saw the cheese grater.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that part in the movie.
And whatever that eye thing was, like she had like some drill or something that was going. I'm like, and then the swallowing glass. I was like, I'm so uncomfortable. I hate it.
Oh, that's fine for me. But the cheese grater thing, it's too much. It's too much. And cheese grater comes into play later on in the movie we're doing today. But
oh yeah, it does. Nice.
Evil Dead Rise does look good. I don't know if it's just me, but the ending of the trailer where she's in the bathtub and she says,
Mom is with the maggots now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing because I saw the trailer yesterday when we went to go see Megan, and I looked at my friend that went with me because there's like an inside joke where we were walking to lunch one time and he mentioned something about a flag, but I thought he said the other F word that doesn't have an L. And I was like, excuse me? So when she goes, Mommy's with the maggots now, I looked at him and I was like, you know what she should have said. And it would have made a lot more sense. But anyways,
Man.
but what I was gonna say is I don't know. The makeup, it looks too much like the zombies from 28 Days Later. I think it's still gonna be great. I just wish they could do something to make me a little more uneasy when it comes to the way that the Deadite looks.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, she does look a little not very reminiscent of a Deadite, but
Yeah.
they usually tend to look worse for wear the longer it goes on, and she's not the only Deadite, because if you watch the trailer as many times as I have, like, I noticed that several of the kids become Deadites as well,
I
and so
did see
that'll
that.
be fun.
But
Yeah.
remember, just because you turn into a Deadite doesn't mean you stay a
You
Deadite.
stay a Deadite, that's true,
Yeah.
but I'll be interested to see how they do different variations, and I'm really, I don't know, because we're putting so much hype on this. I'm excited for it. I'm just worried that it's not going to be as good as the last one. And so, because really the 2013 one was gorgeous. Like,
That's
was-
my favorite one. I know that's controversial to say, but I love that one. I think it was very well done. And yeah, this one's either gonna be either as good as that one, or I don't know. I just hope they don't hype it up too much to where it looks awesome and then it just completely is shit. That's my worry. That's my biggest worry for sure.
Yeah, and I've kind of polled some people, and by some people I mean one person who disagree with me, so I need to poll y'all.
Okay, let's go.
Do you feel like they purposely made the actress in the movie look like Mia from the remake, or was I just seeing something that no one else saw? Because I felt like she looked very similar. Like, I almost thought she was in the movie. They just replaced her because Jane Levy didn't want to come back.
No, I agree. I think she looked very reminiscent of whatever the actress is from 2013. I don't know her name, but yeah, I almost thought it was for half a
Jane
second
Levy.
until
I
there you
literally
go.
just said it.
Oh,
I
I'm
know.
sorry.
We
I'm
can't
deaf.
take Austin anywhere.
I always have to
You really
explain
can't.
stuff to him. But I'm just kidding. But no, like, because I don't know if I was like, are they going to connect it somehow to the 2013 because they have this person looking similar to Jane Levy in the 2013? I don't know. I know Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are involved, which is great, but that would have been cooler if like Fede Alvarez was also involved to bring all the heads
Mm.
together.
Yes.
But really, could we take it? Could we handle that 12-inch of greatness?
Oh, it's okay. I'll definitely try. But and that's the thing too, because like Fede Alvarez, I feel like everything he does is just amazing. Like, I love everything he does, and so to not have him, you could feel the tonal difference between this one and the last one and the trailer. And maybe
Yeah.
that's just the way that the trailer's cut, because we don't know how it's going to be.
Yeah.
We don't know until we watch it. But I don't like the fact that it feels like a lot of it's happening during the day. That kind of annoys me, because it's like, it doesn't have the same, scary creepiness. It's more like treading along the lines of Army of Darkness, because a lot of that happens during the day, right?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, the majority of it does.
Well, I'm
whatever.
about to speculate, which some people may not want to hear. If you want to go in blind, fast forward like a minute. I think the daytime stuff happens at a camp that the kid goes to when he brings the book home. So that's probably just going to be in the beginning. And then when they go to the apartment, it seemed like everything was pretty much at night. That's just what I think is going to happen. I will say, though, that this trailer, from what I could see, looks like the creepiest Necronomicon in the Evil Dead series, as far as the images
and
go.
everything. Oh my god!
But also like the illustrations they have inside of it. It was.
Yeah.
I don't know that the other ones had those, and it was like freaking me out. Maybe because I'm like a religious person, but that shit freaks me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the setting of? I mean, it's always been a cabin in the woods, except for Army of Darkness. But I'm kind of for it. I'm interested to see it in a different setting, but I think it will still also be a little weird at the same time because we're always used to a cabin in the woods. So I'm wondering how you guys feel about the high-rise setting for this movie.
Well, I definitely can identify with the high-rise setting, right?
That's true.
And I
We
think
get it.
that
You're rich.
I'm not rich, but Dan makes a lot of money, so it helps.
She married rich.
But no, like, I think that there is a sort of isolation, like a sort of cabin in the fever feeling, because you're stuck in a building with all these people. So just imagine how many people the book will affect now that it's in
Ooh, that's
a
true.
setting that
Ooh.
generally has like, hundreds of people living in it, right? One tenement. So
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think about that.
I think that'll be fun to see how that affects the rest of the building. I hope that they go outside of the unit. If they don't go
Mhm.
outside of the unit, which I feel like they did in like some snippets, but if it doesn't leave the unit, then why not just put it
Pointless.
in the cabin? Yeah, why did we leave
Yeah.
the cabin if we're not going to explore what else it could do? So
Yeah,
I guess we'll see.
that's my concern because the trailer made it seem like everything happens in the unit, except there's like an elevator part. So I know
Mm.
that they probably do adventure out at some point, but I was excited when I first heard it was in an apartment high rise because kind of reminds me of like, was it Demons 2 where it was in a high rise?
Demons,
And
yeah.
I think
Wreck, Quarantine.
Troll 2,
Yeah.
or was that
I
Troll
like
1?
that setting. I like
forget.
that setting.
One of them takes place in the high rise, and so does the poltergeist take place in a high rise. And it's fun
Yeah.
because you're stuck in a horrific event with your neighbors, and it's not like houses where you can just leave and go across the street. Like, no, you're stuck with each other. And I like that. I think that can really work, but I just hope it's not too much of like Aid said in the apartment.
Mm.
Yeah, well, there
Yeah.
was that scene too where she was outside the apartment door and she's like, nothing, a kiss from you wouldn't help, and then she tries to break in. So I'm assuming that she's gonna either get infected. I don't know. Like that's what I'm wondering. Like, where does this all happen? Is it gonna take place outside and work its way in, or is it gonna happen in the apartment and like work its way out? Like I'm still trying to figure out how it'll play out, but I have no idea.
I mean, again, on speculation, fast forward 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it, because I deconstructed the trailer. In the elevator, there's a lot of hands coming out. So I
Yeah.
imagine a lot of people are going to be infected.
Oh,
Oh
that makes
yeah,
me
that's
happy.
true. Yeah. Which will be nice. Honestly, I think that seeing a lot more deadites in the vein that we see zombies, I think it's a lot more terrifying because, deadites are really difficult to get away from.
Yeah, and they fuck with your
Right.
mind, which is another thing
Yeah.
which makes them scarier than zombies, which is why I don't want them to just look like a zombie and, you know,
Yeah. And
attack
that was
you.
the beautiful thing about the last one because so many of them, like every time each one of them turned, they had a different look to them, right? And then they were mutilating themselves, which was fun too. And so you have all of these different little facets that were included. And I just feel like with a different direction, it might not be what we expect. So I'm just really hoping for the best, but I'm not expecting the best. But I'm
Yeah,
hoping for it.
that's
I'm
where I'm
gonna
at.
stay positive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, also, I just want to touch because I think the other major trailer in regards to horror was Renfield, which looks
yes.
super fun. Friend of the show, Jenna Cannell, makes an appearance. So go support our girl and go see
Mhm.
Renfield. If you don't follow her on Twitter and Instagram at Squid Enthusiast. She's also in Terrifier and Bye Bye Man, in case you weren't familiar with her. So she's in it, so I'm excited. Nicolas Cage, hello. The main guy apparently has done stuff, but all I know is he's hot. And then
Nicholas Holt.
sure.
Nicholas Holt.
He was Beast from
he
the
was-
new X-Men movies.
Yeah, because I saw that.
He's in
So
Mad Max. He's
He's in a lot of stuff.
He's in a lot of stuff, and he's in Warm Bodies. I love him in Warm
Oh, that's right.
Bodies.
He is. He's the main guy in that, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
he's
shit,
so
okay.
cute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he's
a
even a
good
cute
one.
zombie. So
I haven't seen it. But yeah, it looks super fun. It looks super cute. I'm excited because it's definitely a lot. Like that's the one thing. It's like we heard about Renfield back when we interviewed Jenna, but I didn't know what kind of tone it was going to take. Because you talk about Renfield, who is Dracula's assistant essentially, and how it circles around him. We didn't know it was going to be kind of like this comedic.
yeah, no, I had no idea it was gonna be a horror comedy.
Yeah, me neither. And so I'm kind of glad because I don't know if we have any coming out, any other horror comedies coming out. What I do want to see is we need some slashers, but like good ones. Come on, people. I need a big Hollywood slasher that's not Halloween or Urban Legend, which the reboot got nixed or whatever.
They are well, I guess that is a reboot. Never mind. They are coming out with the new Strangers this year. That's supposed to be a fucking trilogy. And it's like, why does everything have to be a trilogy? But they're supposed to be redoing that. So that might be a big Hollywood like blockbuster slasher, but again, it's a reboot. It's nothing new and inventive. So
I saw something this morning, and this happens many times with me. You know, God doesn't give with both hands, and I'm just pretty. I saw this article that was like someone that was involved with. I know, Aid, you can't understand. Someone that was involved in both Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer is coming out with a new slasher, and I forgot what it was called.
Ooh.
And I was like, I should have taken note of that, and that wasn't until like an hour after I closed the website. So we'll see what that was in the future. I'm sure it'll pop up again.
Okay.
Okay. But speaking of not knowing how these movies are going to be, we have a little short, mini, spoiler free discussion to have about a certain young doll that came out yesterday called Mithrigan.
Meathregan. That's what we're gonna call it from now on. Meathregan.
Yes. So Megan came out yesterday night. It was Thursday, so like technically it came out today, but you know they always show movies the Thursday before. And I mean, I thought it looked fun, but I wasn't in a rush to see it because it just kind of looked like another Chucky attempt. And so I had no plans of watching it. And then all of a sudden, Letterboxd started coming out and Rotten Tomatoes started coming out, and people were like, hey, this movie is actually like pretty good. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it. So I was gonna go by myself, but my friend came with me, and to my surprise, it was actually really good.
Yeah.
I know
100%.
Austin enjoyed it as well because we were gabbing about it last night. But
Hmm.
Aid, how do you feel about the movie without seeing it? Do you not
Guys
care
talk-
about it?
You guys had your little pillow talk about Megan.
Yeah, at your bedtime at 7 p.m. So sorry that you
Yes.
missed
Oh my
it.
god. Well, fun story. All of my horror shit I hung up last night or yesterday fell in the middle of the night. So I was up all night anyway. Picking
Women
up.
don't know how to use hammers, Aid. You should have let Dan do it.
I used command strips, and you can't expect men to do anything because I've been asking him to put that fucking painting up for 3 years, it's still sitting there.
You need me to do something? I'll come over there and hang shit. I'm great at it. Look at this fucking studio I have. Everything's hung up
That's
perfectly.
it. I'm just calling Austin for
And-
all of
Call
my
me over.
needs.
And he doesn't need a ladder.
I
No,
know.
I don't.
even
I really
better.
don't. I am a fucking ladder at this point.
But yeah, like as someone that hasn't seen it, what's your impression of Megan?
It looks horrible. Like it looks so stupid. Every time I see her do that stupid fucking dance, I'm like, this is so fucking dumb. Like that's why I was like, you guys go ahead and see it. I have no pay. Like this was a hard week for me. So for me to spend money to see something I don't want to see, I'm like, no. And I'm sure I'll like it maybe later on down the line, but it's PG-13. It's
It's not very feminist of you.
It's Blumhouse. What do you mean it's not very feminist of me? She's not technically a girl. She's a robot. So
How dare you? Megan's part of the family.
her name
Austin,
is Megan. Ugh.
well, it stands for what is it again?
Oh fuck! They did say. Damn it! They did. It's an acronym. They did
It's
say it
a
in the movie.
program. Like
Yeah, it stands for something. It's an acronym. I can't. I
Oh,
can't.
and don't fool me that bitch from Girls is suddenly some kind of scientist. I don't think so. You're not fooling me, Allison. Something.
if you mean software developer, then yes. So she is a software
Whatever.
developer in this movie. But she actually did really good, and she's one of the executive producers, which I always think is cool because I like when lead actors or actresses show, like, I guess they have skin in the game when it comes to the movies that they're being in by being a producer or executive producer.
She gets her ass eaten out in Girls, so there's that.
I did love Girls.
I love
Um,
Girls, yeah. She's insufferable on that show. Oh my god.
I know my friend that I used to watch Girls with hated her. I thought she was fine, but she hated her. Anywho, the only thing I want to say about it, because I don't want to say anything spoiler related, is it's just really good. It knows how to balance comedy and suspense because there was a lot of solid laughs. And I think you should go watch it if you have any interest at all. And my favorite part that I'm not going to say much about is just it involves Megan's hair being messed up.
Yeah.
I was dying when that happened. And
Oh.
but yeah, if you want to say anything about it, Austin, you're more than welcome to.
Well, number one, it is Model 3 generative android. That's what Megan stands for because I just looked it up. 2, My wife is definitely on your side, age. She thinks the same thing. She's like, this looks fucking stupid. I don't want to go see it. So I went and saw it with a friend last night. And then 3, yeah, I went in just kind of expecting a run-of-the-mill horror movie. I just wanted to go see it because it's the first one to release in theaters, and I was like, fuck it, I've got time. And then it just came out and surprised me. I was like, holy shit, this is, not only was it hilarious, it was very well done for PG-13, and it was just very well acted. Like, it just, I couldn't believe how much I actually enjoyed it. Like, I gave it 4 stars out of 5 stars, like on Letterboxd. It
Wow.
was, yeah, and to not even to mention, it went from last night when I went and saw it, it was a 2.8, and it is now a 3.2 on Letterboxd. Like, that doesn't fucking ever happen. So it's got
Yeah.
solid ratings, and it's got like a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. I don't really use that much, but that's pretty crazy for this movie. And funny enough, it is the same director as the movie we're talking about today.
Is
Fun
it?
fact. It is Gerard Johnstone. He directed Housebound
Oh.
and this. So funny little tie-in right there that we happen to be talking about Megan.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
Or me Freedom.
We didn't even plan it.
No,
Um,
it didn't. But I think
It
that
just
worked
happened.
out nicely because then we have, metadata.
Yes.
And also, too, if you think about it, it is PG-13, which Housebound is not. But Megan
girl.
is, and that's probably why it has the rating that it does, because all the kids are going to see it. So all of my kids on Monday are probably, Miss, did you see Megan? And I'm just going to look at them.
It has some pretty intense stuff though for being PG-13. Like there was a part in the middle where I was like, I have to double check and make sure this was PG-13 because
It
I
was
always
supposed to be R, and they cut it down to PG-13. So there's an R-rated cut out there somewhere that I hope they release on like a Blu-ray, like an unrated cut or something. So
I'm sure
they,
they
Yeah.
will. Yeah.
that would be amazing.
I mean, they had to make it accessible, and I get it. You get more money. I mean, you get
Oh,
more
yeah.
asses and seats, and they're targeting an audience. We know this. We talked about it's Blumhouse, so we talked about this before, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So
I don't
anyway,
think it's set out to scare you though. I think it's just out to have a fun time and be entertaining. And I
Yeah,
think
it was
that's what it did.
very entertaining. Well, how packed was your theater? Because our theater literally had maybe 12 seats that weren't filled. Like, there was a shit ton of people there for opening night, which I was kind of surprised. Was your theater packed or was it pretty empty?
I want to say it was like half filled.
Okay, not bad.
I mean, it's a Thursday. It's a
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah, for Thursday, yeah. Word of mouth will get that thing going. I'm sure it'll make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, so perfect tie-in because I didn't even know the director of the same movie. What we're doing today is we're taking you back to the continent of Oceania. We just learned that, and I'm not going to let it go. Taking you down to New Zealand while we discuss the 2014 released Housebound. Who's seen this
Mm.
before? Who has not?
So I know I had put it on at one point when it was on Netflix, but I don't think I actually ever finished it because I remember that was back in the time when I didn't understand horror comedies, and I was like, wait, this is a horror movie. Why is it funny? And I didn't get it, and I'm pretty sure I shut it off. So I don't think I've actually fully seen it. I think this is the first time I fully watched the whole thing.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
I was similar in a similar situation where it was getting good reviews. I put it on, but I was probably texting or not paying attention. And I could tell that it was decent, but I wasn't paying enough attention to it. And I knew that there was a twist at the end from what I saw, but I didn't really formulate an opinion on it until I watched it last night. And you'd be super proud because last time I said I can't tell when horror movies try to be comedy and horror. And when we're introduced to the mother, I knew right then and there that this was a horror comedy. And the mother is my favorite character in the whole
Yes.
Oh,
movie.
she's great. She's
Yeah.
great.
So a quick recap. It's basically a woman, or do they say how old she is?
She's
Who,
young. She's like
Kylie?
in her early 20s.
Okay, because she looks a little older, but she also looks like the New Zealand's response to our Alexander Daddario. She's a beautiful girl, but she gets in trouble for robbing an ATM and she gets an ankle bracelet. She has to basically be housebound, and they set her up with her mom and her mom's husband, so I guess her stepdad.
Yeah.
And she just has a bad attitude. She's, what would you call her? Like
Angsty.
angsty, very
She's just she's very she's angry. I mean, and not even angsty. She's just very just pissed off. Like she
Yeah.
does not, she's very apathetic. She's very selfish. She only
she's
cares
rude
about
to her
herself.
mom.
She's extremely rude, and she's very defensive. And it's
She's a
interesting.
brat.
She's a fucking brat. Yeah. And I feel like there's a lot of times in this movie because it's a very mother-daughter relationship. And like my mom and I, we've had our differences in the past, especially concerning, my stepfather and stuff. And so like when I saw this movie, I was like, oh my God. And aside from robbing an ATM, like that's how bitchy I was. Like I was such a little cunt. And so I can totally identify with her because eventually I'm like, oh, I feel bad. Like when she's bitching when she told the stepfather to go piss off, I'm not your slave.
Yeah.
And then she ends up going downstairs to help him anyways.
Because he's like not a bad stepfather. He's just quiet. He doesn't really talk.
She runs the show though, because she's got a very strong personality and they're both kind of not afraid of her, but they don't want to trigger her or make her angry or angrier. So they just kind of let her run the show. Yeah. Which is hilarious to me because I'm wondering like when they're having these conversations if my mom was the same way about me.
we find out later why they don't want to upset her because we find out why she ran away initially. So she's basically returning home after running away and not contacting her mom or family in a very long time. Give me a second. I'm gonna go get my dogs from outside because they're begging on the door.
Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
See, now look who's being a pain in the ass. Gosh, it's always me. And then when he does it, he's an angel.
Oh my God, he just stood up and I saw the entire background and it's hilarious. You got Black Sheep, Bad Taste, Housebound. I don't know what that fucking creature is. What is that creature?
Oh, that's from something.
That's
from
Over.
That one.
Yeah. What is that?
That's from Dead Alive. That's the rat.
Is it? Oh.
That's the rat that bites.
Oh my God. Okay,
this?
Yeah, who's that too? I don't know.
I don't know who the hell that is.
Looks like he's wearing a woman's nightgown.
He's wearing a nightgown.
Definitely.
Well, I just found this online. I was like, oh, perfect.
Oh, I thought you put that together. You just found that online?
Yeah, I just found it online when I typed in New Zealand horror.
That's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
But so to give some kind of character background to these characters, we have Kylie, played by Morgana O'Reilly. She's the angsty anarchy in the New Zealand type girl. And we have Miriam Bucknell, who's played by Rima T. Wiata, which I don't know. It seems like some of her trivia that she may have been like she's a Kyrian Lou.
She's what?
And Kyrian Lou. It's a claymation show on right now on Nick Jr. that I watch with my kids, and it's so
nice.
Anyways, sorry. So apparently, like one of the trivias was that this actress came into like this was her first comedic role in like 15 years, and it shows that she has a history of acting because she was really good. Like she was really funny, and she played because sometimes when you have those characters that play space cases, sometimes they don't do it very well, and you're like, okay, we get it. But she was really funny, and then when she had to get serious, she got serious. But my favorite part is when I mentioned earlier when we first meet her, they pull up to the mom's house, and they're like, are you ready? And it's like a serious scene, and the daughter's like, yeah. And then the car just jerks forward and the mom has rammed her car into it. She's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't see you there. And I was like, oh yeah, this is me when Olivia's like 21.
I think there's more damage to my car than there is damage to your car. Oh
yeah, she's like, don't worry.
And usually those characters that are there for comedic relief can get like tiresome, you know? But I never got tired of her talking. She was hysterical the entire time. Like she fully committed to that role.
Yeah,
I think she did a great job.
Yeah, so she ends up staying with her mom and her stepdad, and she's rude, she's obnoxious, she has no respect. I felt really bad when the mom was like, because the mom is basically putting up with it. She's like, whatever. Yeah. And then she wants to watch her show, her novelas. I don't know what they call them in New Zealand. And she's like, it's time for whatever. And the daughter just ignores her. So she has to go upstairs with her shitty little TV that's like all snowy. And she's like, why do I have to be up here? This is my house. But she still did it. So, that's kind of like where the disrespect peaks before,
Yeah. I mean, even with the whole meatloaf thing, which I thought was interesting. And we need to come back to the meatloaf later because I was like, that fucking bitch. And then I realized later it wasn't just her with the meatloaf. It wasn't just her. So,
interesting. I didn't think about that.
So anyway,
Yeah, but
who else do we have?
well, real quick, if you haven't seen the movie, I really recommend watching it. It's on Tubi and Shudder because there are twists and turns in this movie that we're gonna go over. So if you want to be surprised without us ruining it, watch it and come back.
Yeah, this
I'll
is where
pause
I'd
here.
stop it.
Yeah.
Because the twist, while it's not something that we haven't seen before, I think that it just works so well. And then when you go back and think about the entire movie, it was always with this in mind, right? But you didn't
Yeah.
notice it because you didn't know what was going to happen, right? And so I think it's such a well thought out, fun horror comedy.
So
Yeah.
we have seen it before, but have we seen it before 2014?
Oh no, I don't think so. Not before
Because
that.
the biggest one I can think of is, go ahead, Austin.
No, I was just gonna keep going. I'm gonna look it up to see if it was because I know there's a movie. But go ahead. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Well, the
So-
twist, turn it off now. The twist is that they think the house is haunted, but it's not. There's actually someone living in the walls, which is like the boy.
Yeah, the boy.
Ah, that's true. When was that though? That was previous to this, correct?
No.
The boy was after this.
The Boy's
Boy-
2016. Whoa.
Yeah, the boy's
holy
after
shit.
this because I remember when I watched the boy, I was like, "Oh, this is Housebound."
Yeah.
Except
Yeah.
it's not funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so the movie I was thinking of, and obviously we're in the spoiler part, it's a movie called The Pact from 2012, and there is someone living in the walls in that movie. So-
Okay.
You're right. But wasn't that like a creature or like a, I don't know. I haven't
I
seen that in a
can't
long time.
remember.
That's a good movie though.
That's a good one. Yeah, I saw that one on like Netflix years ago. I really want to go revisit it, but I know there's something involving someone in the walls there. That's the only one that I can think of that's
Yeah.
previous to this, and that was only 2 years ago.
Yeah,
2
no,
years
you're
before.
right. You're right. That was a really good one. We should see if we could find it. Anyways,
Okay.
Oh.
so the big players of the film, we have Glenn Paul Rowe, who plays Amos. He is the guy who is checking on her to make sure that her ankle monitor is functioning properly and that she doesn't tamper with it. Loved him also.
Oh, he's so
Um,
funny. Yeah.
Hilarious, yeah.
Graham is the stepdad, played by Ross Harper, and Dennis is played by Cameron Rhodes. He's the psychiatrist that comes to visit her to check in on her. And I was like, either Austin or Aid mentioned it. If it's from New Zealand, there's going to be a connection to Lord of the Rings. And here we are. Cameron Rhodes played a character in Lord of the Rings.
Nice.
And then Ryan Lamp plays Eugene.
Yeah. And
And that's the majority of the main actors. Go ahead.
oh well, the neighbor looked familiar, honestly.
Mick
but-
Ines.
Yeah, Mickens or whatever the hell. I know, like, and it's sad. Like, I feel I've always liked this movie because I watched it when it came out. Bloody Disgusting was talking about it, like debuted at South by Southwest Festival, and everybody was raving about it. So the minute that I saw it on Netflix, I'm like, I have to watch this. And this is when I used to keep up with new things. And so, what was this? What year was this? 2013,
14.
2014.
God,
Okay,
that was
so
almost
that's
10 years ago. Oh,
10 years ago,
Oh.
like
Ew,
back when I
don't say
cared, like
that.
I was able to keep things, I keep up with shit. Yes. And so, it's just one of those things where it's like, it's a good time. And if you can get past, I think the problem, I know a lot of people at the time that I knew had watched it were having issues because they couldn't understand the characters.
right.
Some of their accents are a little thicker. And I'm like, put the fucking captions on. Or
I
you
was gonna
die.
say I always listen. I always have subtitles, even if it's in English. So
Those are probably the same, but those are probably the same people who hate watching movies with subtitles too.
yeah.
Hmm.
Which I don't mind. I almost always have them on.
I just honestly, I didn't want to say anything because I wanted us to all bring our fresh opinions to it without knowing beforehand. But when I was just watching it, I was like, this is just such a good movie. Like, it's fun, it's funny, it's suspenseful, and
It's very well written too.
Yeah, it's got a
It
lot of like
is.
depth to it.
Oh, I know, because it's it's silly because we'll get to it in a minute, but the movie starts to take a turn when Kylie is in the attic, I believe. She's somewhere and she has a
Just in
radio.
the basement, I think. The basement?
Yeah, the basement where she gets the someone grabs her, right? Isn't that when she starts to realize that her mom is like maybe not bullshitting?
No, this is before. We
This is
have to
before when
explain
she's listening to her mom.
to the radio.
Oh, yes. You're right. Okay.
So
Smoking
she,
a cigarette.
yeah, she's
Yeah.
smoking a cigarette. She's in some room that's either above ground or below ground. And she has like an old radio on. And by the way, this is just like Deathgasm where they have no cell phones, but it's 2014 and they're listening to old ass radios. So New Zealanders,
And the
tell us what's up.
TVs don't work. Yeah. Why are the
Yeah.
TVs not working? What's happening?
But but
What
um
year is it?
yeah, New Zealand is just the land that time forgot.
I
But just kidding, you're beautiful. You know, don't have COVID, it's fine. But the radio comes on and she starts to hear the radio DJ talking to a woman who sounds familiar, and she realizes it's her mom downstairs. And her mom is telling the radio host that she thinks the house is haunted and she's explaining why. And I love this part so much because I can literally see me doing that in like 15 years when I'm just like, the kids are out of the house, I have nothing else to do, and I just start hearing random shit. And I'm like, I'm going to tell the radio about my problems. And it's so heartbreaking whenever, you know, because it's funny because it's like they say our parents turn into like children as they get older. And when she comes in and Kylie's like grilling her about it and giving her shit about it, and she kind of like starts to feel bad and like a little embarrassed about what she did, I was like, leave her alone. She's like a nice mom. She's sweet. Leave her alone. But so that's where we figure out that something is going on in the house. And so the mom responds with, well, there was a time when you would have believed me, indicating that Kylie has experienced something strange when she was younger. Then stuff happens, but then she goes to the basement and then she gets grabbed in the lake because she's hearing noises. And so she's like fully convinced that the house is haunted. The guy, Amos.
Amos.
Like famous Amos.
I'm trying not to say anus, but I love him.
Oh,
And that's one of the things that makes this movie so great is the characters are just so good, like all of them. I love Amos. Like when I first saw him, I was like, what a dick, because you know he's being the typical patrol whatever or the house arrest guy.
yeah, security
Yeah.
guard or something. He works for like a
Yeah.
security, company.
Yeah,
or
he works
something.
for the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as soon as he realizes that they're talking about spirits, he busts out all of his ghost hunting shit because apparently that's another hobby he has.
That was like my favorite part when all she did was mention that the house was haunted and he just boom whips it out and starts doing
Yes.
EVPs, and I'm like, fucking this guy's commitment already. I love it. It's great.
And what does she
Yeah.
say? So he busts out his little recorder and he's like, "Is there someone here with us?" And then the music's like making you believe that shit's about to go down. Like it's real creepy music, and he's asking the typical Ghost Hunters TV show questions. And then it stops, and she says something like, I guess you're not going to get an answer or something. And he's like, or maybe I will. And he rewinds it and plays it all. And it's still quiet. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, never mind.
Yeah, never mind.
Never mind.
Yeah.
JK. But then he
And
starts
yeah.
installing cameras and shit too. He just goes full out, and she's like, we can't pay for this. He's like, no, this is on the house. And he's like, "Oh, okay, thanks for the free stuff, guy."
I know. And ironically enough, because of the situation, because it's not an entity, like the camera should have caught, or, you know,
Right.
Eugene. But Eugene's not an idiot. So there's that into play too. So,
Fucking
I don't know.
Eugene.
Yeah. So
but it's also who done it, right? So continue, Mikey.
yeah, so the story gets deeper because we find out that someone has died. The mom says there used to be an Airbnb for some reason. And so
is the-
she's like,
Bed and breakfast.
Bed and breakfast, you goober.
whatever.
Airbnb wasn't a thing yet, was it? Or if it was, New Zealand certainly didn't have it.
I'm
so-
sorry, I'm so young. My vernacular is just real young. Y'all have older, whatever. Actually, no.
Oh,
Austin's younger.
okay.
Never mind. I meant a bed and breakfast. What do you think Airbnb stands for? God.
An air bed and breakfast.
Okay,
that-
sorry. This is a
I don't know why
ground
there's
bed and
air in
breakfast.
it.
Why is there air in it?
I don't know.
Well, so it used to be a bed and breakfast, and the mom's like, "Oh, I was thinking about turning it into one too," because the mom just talks shit the whole time. She doesn't really mean what she's saying. I can relate, and And so the daughter's like grilling her, and she's like, "Oh, you would have turned this into a bed and breakfast, mom." So she's going through the attic or the garage. No, sorry, the basement. Jesus,
basement.
we don't have them in Texas or Florida, so that's why we're not used to saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she gets scared by a life-size figure of Jesus, and she's like, "Why is there a figure of Jesus?" And who told her? Someone tells her that essentially it wasn't a bed and breakfast. It was like a
It was her stepdad. Her stepdad. Remember when she goes down to
Yeah.
help him? So
'Cause
he's
they
explaining
mentioned-
to her.
They mentioned something about donating books, right? And then she goes down and finds all these books that says like sunshine something on it. And then she,
Everything
like,
has a stamp on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then she starts to make the connection and looks up and researches shit, and it's an insane asylum, or what was it exactly? Was it a mental institution or something?
It was
Um,
it was a home for troubled young children.
Halfway house.
yeah. I was like,
Halfway
I
house.
think I feel like it was
Like
more
a
like a
halfway.
halfway house. I don't know
Yeah.
if they actually ever said it, but it seems like because at first I was like, "Is this an insane asylum?" But it was like a halfway type house.
Yeah.
And we
But it
find out
was for young people, like
Right.
not just okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
like runaways and things of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah, so she finds out that she finds a newspaper saying that a girl was murdered there. A young girl was murdered there. And so she's convinced that her neighbor has murdered this girl because the neighbor's always has a scowl on his face. He's always doing something with dead animals, and he just looks like your typical
He was
serial
skinning a
killer.
possum. Like,
Yeah, this shit
like
was
he was
metal.
skinning a possum on camera, like on the screen, like they're actually showing it. I'm like, oh,
He's gotta eat.
and then he's
Um,
hanging it up on the clothesline like it's nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, there's whatever his name is. There's Joe Bob skinning his possum.
Speaking of Joe Bob, I didn't know this, but Joe Bob Briggs actually covers this. Aid's favorite host.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Of course
he
he would.
Oh.
It's his people.
No. Is he
Or-
from New Zealand?
No, I'm
No.
saying his backwoods people.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Are you talking about Texans?
Yes. No, just kidding, Mikey.
No, I know.
Not the Hispanics of Texas, but everybody who voted for Cruz.
But it's
Just
interesting.
kidding.
It's interesting that I just put it together because you remember how in Deathgasm you said Joe Bob was like, I don't know anything about New Zealand. I wonder if he has the same attitude in this one because this is also a New Zealand film.
Yeah, because he spends a lot of time talking shit about New Zealand, and I'm like, where am I? What the fuck am I watching? Oh, I should have saw that. But anyways, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Continue.
you're good. But yeah, so then she breaks into the neighbor's house. Neighbor comes back, and there's something about a retainer.
So she finds a dental plate. She goes down to the
A
basement.
dental
because they're-
dam.
no, Mikey. No.
Oh my god. Okay, no. She finds she ends up she busts a thing because there she goes down because she thinks that the ghost at this point is trying to tell her something. So she's like, fucking tell me something. And she hears something or whatever. It draws her to this pipe and she busts it open. She finds the dental Sorry, this is not
Damn it,
important.
Mikey.
She finds the dental plate and she believes that whoever killed the girl also bit the girl, and that's why they got rid of the dental plate so that they couldn't figure out by the teeth marks who did this.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, she finds it and she thinks that the old man has one next door, and that's why she wants to break in. So Amos, of course, decides to humor her and let her do it because she's already a criminal. Why not? And I love the fact that when she gets in there, he's snoring with his mouth open, and she's just shoving her fingers down
Oh,
his throat.
I
Like,
know.
Oh,
how do
I
you
was like,
not
no, thank you.
I'm like, oh my god, because like I forgot, like I saw this when it came out. And I never watched it again. So I mean, I knew like from start to finish what was going to happen, but I had forgot about that Dennis. I forgot about Dennis. I forgot about her sticking her hand down this guy's throat. I'm like, oh my god, and then it goes flying in the magazines. Then poor Amos gets like maimed by the bear trap, and all this shit's happening, and I'm just like, oh my god. And
Chaos.
I know you would. Oh, should we continue with what happens after that, or just
Yeah. Well, because
No.
so it's, you mentioned Dennis. I want to mention him real quick because Dennis is the therapist that has been coming and check in on her. They don't have the best relationship because, of course, she doesn't want to talk to him in the beginning. And then as she starts hearing things, he's kind of like, when was this? There was a time that I was watching and I was like, is this gaslighting?
Yeah.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah. Because
Mhm.
sometimes it's hard to explain. Like, people of older generations in my family have sometimes asked me what is gaslighting. And essentially it's when, I give them the quick, someone's trying to convince you that what you think is wrong and it's your fault.
Right.
And I hate these scenes in movies, but I hate them because you're supposed to hate them because they're always, and it's always like, Rosemary's Baby or anything like that, where, because we all know what it's like to be accused of lying and we know we're not lying.
Mhm.
Is that gaslighting?
Yeah,
I mean,
because
yeah.
essentially with gaslighting, it's like somebody knows the other person knows the truth and trying to manipulate you, and you thinking that you're also crazy too.
Yeah.
So,
Pretty much.
and he's using the fact that, oh, it could be because what did he say, that she could be diagnosed with this kind of syndrome, that there's
It's
this
almost like a
wrong with her.
multi-personality type thing.
Did they,
Yeah,
did they mention that, or was it dementia? Was it dementia?
no, it was like
It was
some kind of multiple personality
Okay.
disorder that he said that she was exhibiting.
Yeah. Because
And
it was
obvious-
almost like whenever you can't handle a situation, your brain creates a new personality that can handle it.
Okay,
Yeah.
there we go. Yep.
Oh, and then
So
they start
she-
asking about her menstrual cycle and stuff. And I was like, because apparently each personality has
Has a
their own
different-
menstrual cycle, which is why they usually have more. And I was like, this is so weird.
Weird conversation. Yeah, it's weird.
Well,
But I
not
imagine that's
necessarily
what-
for a woman.
Well, no, it's weird because it reminds me of the days when they used to say hysteria was a woman's disease because you have a uterus, and with the moon and stuff like that. Like, it was reminding me of that stuff, and it was just so uncomfortable to watch because we know these days that that's bullshit and crazy. So to see something so modern take place that's almost exactly like that is just, it was icky.
Yeah, and it shows you too. And that's why I say this movie is so well done, because it's set up very, very subtle from the beginning what is going to happen. And then at one point you realize, and it's not for me, like, because I forgot that he was involved. The minute, because like he wants to put her in the woman's home and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, and then the ghost attacks him, because at this point we still think there's a ghost involved, right? Until
Yeah.
we realize that when she fucking finds
Oh my god. When she finds him, but Eugene, right? That's his name.
he's sitting in a chair with his headphones, like we are, with his
Yeah.
fucking headphones on.
Watching TV.
Oh my god! I remember I had the same reaction when I first initially saw it. I was like,
Yeah. Same.
I don't know what's worse, having a ghost, because a ghost you can't really get rid of, I guess, but a person, I feel like, is even worse, because he's been watching her entire life, and I'm just like,
And drawing pictures of her too, which is even creepier.
Yeah.
and the thing is, there's like, and the guy next door, he's not so bad, right? Because then we learn like why Eugene is there. Like, we learn, he was fucking some lady and she came to him and she needed a place to stay, and essentially abandons her child there. And he raises him for a little while, but then why does he throw Eugene out? Because he took an animal apart or something. I forget.
I don't
Like,
think he threw him
Throw him out,
but he ran away for some reason.
he beat him enough to try and set him straight, because I think Eugene was taking animals apart, right, at some point, and trying to put them back
maybe.
together.
Maybe.
And
He
so
was
the guy
doing
like,
something off.
He was like, this isn't right. And then he runs away.
Yeah.
And so now we know where he ran away to, right? He runs
Next
away.
door.
Next door.
Right next door.
and this is before, obviously, before the family moves in. This is while the clinic is still open, and so he witnesses the entire murder. And I think it's such a good part where she's grilling him, where Kylie's down there, they're stuck in there, they're hiding with Eugene at some point, and she's yelling at him. And the mom even says, "Why are you so abrasive? Why are you so antagonistic towards people? Like, why can't you just be nice?"
Yeah.
And she's like, she doesn't get it, because like, this motherfucker is in the house watching me, drawing pictures of me in the bathtub. And like, the way it gets so serious in that moment, I think there's such a good up and down with this film when she asks him, why didn't you say anything? Like, she's just get like, why didn't you just come to somebody? And he's like, I'm afraid that they would have taken me away and they would have thought I did it. And he's so serious in the face.
Yeah.
And you feel like my heart just broke for Eugene. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, there's a couple of emotional parts there's a couple emotional scenes during this part.
Yes.
When the gaslighting starts happening, because you have, after she encounters Eugene, the therapist comes by with the cops because they're essentially going to take her to a psych ward, essentially. And they're having a discussion, and then it's brought up that she ran away from home because she punched her mom. And so, like, when that happens, you're like, oh shit, because that's not like something to take lightly, like, and especially when we've spent the last hour and a half laughing and loving this mom character, but a mother's love is so strong that she probably has already forgiven her, but the daughter hasn't forgiven herself. So there's that part that kind of made me like, oh. And then right before she confronts Eugene, and Eugene even cries when they're asking what happened and why they didn't respond. When she is getting after him, like you touched on a little bit, where the mom like basically has a breakthrough with her, where she's like, you don't have to act like this. Like, there's no point in upsetting him. He's obviously not all there in the head. Like, and it does get very serious at this part, because it tackles like how to address those kinds of behaviors. It's very weird that it gets kind of serious, but I really liked it. But then you get back into, I was gonna say, but then you get back into the comedy, because my second favorite part is where they're like, I need you to distract the Dennis and the cops. And she's like, how am I gonna do that? She's like, do what you do best. And so she goes in there and just starts bullshitting with what she's saying again. And at first you can tell she's a little uncomfortable about it, but then it switches scenes back to Kylie and Eugene, and then it goes back and the mom's already like fully at home, like just jabbering away, legs crossed, and oh, it was so good. I loved it.
In a meaningless blather conversation that no one wants to be in.
I know, they're like slowly losing it, and it's just hilarious. Like, it's such a good up and down, and the writing is just so well done. Like, because, and of course, this actress, Rima, she delivers it perfectly, because you don't know too many people who can do this well, right? And like, she can just blather on and on, and you're listening to it, and we're laughing because we know her, but everybody's like, oh my god, shut the and these people, like, you never want to get caught with these people where that, if you have to talk to them, they don't shut the fuck up, and you got to sit there and like, yeah, and you'll like go to the door and try to leave, and you're just like, oh, okay, bye, and you have to say bye like 10 times or you get the fuck out, like,
yeah.
Oh my god, I know I know those people, right? It's always an older woman, and I hate to say that. I hate to say that. Sometimes
it's true though,
but it's usually an older woman.
Yeah.
Nothing else to do.
That was my everyday when I used to work at 7-Eleven. People would come in to 7-Eleven to buy shit and then drop their fucking life on me, and I'm like, I did not ask for this, and what am I supposed to do? I can't leave. I'm working. So yeah, I hate getting in those conversations where it's like I'm trapped and I have to listen to this person talk about everything in their life, and I don't know. I don't know enough to care. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know you. This is too personal. Stop dropping personal shit on me. I don't know.
Austin.
Like,
Mean.
But and so this is where we get into the fact when the reason she goes away is because Dennis takes out his dental dam, and he's picking it with because he ate the cookie, right? And then she's like, and I totally forgot all of this. Like, I just remember Eugene. I remember that she was a bitch, and that's all I remembered. Like, I forgot that all of this was happening, and I was like,
yeah, another twist.
There's like 3 twists in this fucking movie. It's crazy. You have the twist that it's not a ghost, that it's a person, and then they flip that twist back around, because then the wall, after she breaks the wall down for the cops, the wall is like there. So you're like, okay, maybe she's crazy, and then oh no, it is a person, and then you're like, oh, it's this guy who did it. There's like 4 fucking twists in this movie. It's very well done. It's very good at misdirection.
Yeah, because also it's even kind of a minor twist when you realize that he has seen Kylie before as a child. They've interacted, and she saw him, and when she told the mom thought it was maybe just a ghost or imaginary friend or something. So it's very layered. And even though the pictures, it starts off weird with her in the shower. She's like, there's not more, or the bathtub. She's like, there's not more of this one, is it? It's like, no. But then he draws her leaving the house because, when she hit her mom, and she draws how she felt bad and stuff. So it's very layered. And I kind of, when I first saw Eugene, because I forgot about that second half of the twist where Eugene's not the bad guy. When I first saw him, I was like, oh, he doesn't look very scary. I was like, he kind of looks a little just like dirty. But then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, but he's not scary. That's the point. He's just living in
He's
the
scared.
walls. Yeah.
He's fucking scared.
Well, yeah, he's like a little, he's more scared of everybody else, right? And that's why he lives in the walls, because he doesn't, and it's sad. And that's the thing, because when the guy even says there's something wasn't right about him, like, we know that Eugene is probably on the spectrum in some way. Like, he's very intelligent, but he's not all there.
Yeah.
And like, especially socially, right? But he does speak to her, and that's the thing. And then especially when you look at the drawings, the last drawing is the girl who was murdered. And they keep talking about her being stabbed with this serving fork like 67 times. They keep mentioning it. And then the serving fork comes back at the end.
Yes.
And I'm
That
like,
was
oh
good.
my God. Because, like, you never think about it. Like, who even still has a fucking star? I don't even have one. Like, do you still have one of those?
Mm-mm.
Like,
I
who,
do,
like,
but it's for barbecue to turn it over.
Yeah, that's
oh, like, I use tongs. Like, I don't even
Yeah.
have that in my house. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even like, and I'm like, oh my God, but it's New Zealand, so they probably don't have tongs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
probably the same carving fork. I would hope that it was the same one.
Oh yeah, because I think they got it out of Eugene's lair,
I'm pretty
right?
sure, yeah, because then he attaches it to the electricity, and that's like the best kill. That's your background right there. Is that kill when shoves the carving fork in and it just explodes his head? I was like, that was fucking awesome.
I was
Yeah.
like, this is the reason why it's rated R. Because
Oh,
nothing, it's
with the
really
mom-
not, yeah.
Yeah, that just
And I saw him in the mom's face.
It's really not, it really doesn't deserve an R rating except for that head explosion.
yeah, pretty
I
much.
don't
Yeah.
I don't remember if there's a lot of language, but as far as violence goes and stuff, there wasn't really that much.
Let's see. Let's go to
I'm
IMDb.
trying to think.
I don't really. Yeah, there's.
I guess there isn't, but it feels like there is. I feel like, oh no, because when she stabs Graham by mistake,
Oh, that was pretty bloody too.
remember, and all the blood squirting up in her face. I'm like,
I know.
oh my
I was
God.
like, but he makes it. He makes it, everybody.
He
Okay, so
does, yeah.
it says that there's a frequent use of the word fuck throughout this film. I guess I'm
Yeah.
just so used to hearing it that I don't really.
We're immune to it.
I'm immune to that word at this point, but yeah, so there is apparently a lot of that, and I'm sure they
Yeah.
probably say cunt at some point too, because that's a big thing in Australia and New Zealand. They use that word much more than we do.
I use
Yeah.
it a lot.
I use it too, but I know
Well, I do, yeah.
It's also like it's also a British thing. Like,
Yeah.
okay, stopping it.
The
Being a
cheeky
fucking
cunt.
cunt. Yeah.
Yeah, but eventually we have a super sweet, happy ending wrapped up with the bow where we get the family. Graham is back in the house, back to normal. They're videotaping something happening, and they're like, oh, my videotape's dying. Why? I was charging all night. And then Kylie's like, oh, Eugene, indicating that they've allowed Eugene to stay in their walls.
It's so
Yeah.
cute. It's so wholesome.
It is.
Yeah, and it's sweet. So I think that's fun about it. And then that's where we realize, like, because remember she's bitching about the meatloaf at the beginning,
Mhm.
and we realized no, like, she probably had some of it, but Eugene, we know, ate the rest of it. And that's
Oh,
why
yeah.
there was
Yeah,
no
because the mom was
Oh, for
like,
sure.
the mom was like, you ate the whole thing. And of course, she's just not replying. She's just kind of
Yeah.
like, appears
Whatever.
so. But yeah, I didn't think about that. It was actually probably already eaten by Eugene, and then she finished
Yeah.
it. But it's even though it's funny to say about a horror movie, it is really wholesome. And I always ask if people would recommend this movie, but honestly, like, I really think this is a great one even for non-horror fans, because you get a little pinch of everything without it getting too dark or
Yeah.
intense or horrific. Like, it's a perfect thriller horror movie for people that get scared easily.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's a little murder mystery, and with the gore, it's definitely not Dead Alive or
No, yeah.
Deathgasm, right? So there is gore, but it's very few and far between. Well, we forgot the cheese grater.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
When she taped it
Yes.
to her hand, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
Please don't.
And then when she did it, I was like,
Yes, it was gross, but I have a feeling Evil Dead is going to do it even grosser.
and
Oh,
because
God.
like when you're grating cheese and you get your finger stuck in it, right? Like that's the worst.
But
Yeah.
also
The worst.
anything with legs, because some of us, Austin, I'm pretty sure you don't. We know what it's like
don't
to
have
shave your
legs?
legs. Well, no,
Oh.
to shave your legs and to nick yourself. Like that's in like the cabin fever shaving scene. Like I gave me
Yeah.
the same reaction when I was like, no, don't do it. But yeah, so that was the full circle with the Evil Dead trailer. Is she cheese graters the guy's face for a second.
Yeah. And it's like hanging. So they did a cute job. They probably could have made it worse, like the effect if they
Yeah.
wanted to. But honestly, it was enough because and like, and this is for any like gore. I'm always scared. That's why I don't go into the movie theater anymore because now I'm just yelling the whole time. I'm like, like, like you would never know. Yes, I enjoy it, but Dan gets so mad at me, and so I have to like sit there like this.
You know what's
Okay.
also really funny? Looking at your picture, I noticed that when the killer's head explodes at the end, Kylie gets like a little, and the mom is
Yes.
just like covered in blood. Like she gets the most of it, and it's
But
always
she
just
doesn't
really
wipe
funny.
it off. She
Yeah.
just sits there just blinking just like this. I'm like, wipe that shit off your face, dude.
It's like, what do you do? And that's the thing. This was the picture that was on the Bloody Disgusting article, and because that's all I would do. Like I would go online. I didn't even have it on my phone back then. I would go online and just read Bloody Disgusting about what was coming out. And that's all I knew. That's all how I knew about horror back in the day. And so this was the picture. And I'm like, oh, that's going to be really gory. I can't wait to see it. Like, and that's
Yes.
why I watched it. Yeah, so.
It was so
And
good.
Sorry, go ahead.
Also, tell me if you can see this or not. When I was watching it, the mom reminded me, like she was giving me very Shelley Duvall vibes. Obviously not the way Shelley Duvall is now, but maybe how she would have been if she wasn't mentally abused in filming. Like I could see if we made an American remake of this, Shelley Duvall playing that character.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that.
Yeah. Well, I don't, but unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was very mousy. That's true.
Yeah,
That's
mousy and also kind of like a pushover, but like how she is in The Shining, but of course this is not as intense as The Shining.
It is
Right.
so sad too, because like I remember, and Shelley Duvall, like if we want to talk about it really quick, like men had this picture of her like of being like meh back in the day, and
Mhm.
I think that movie did her in for it, right? Because my dad used to talk, he's like I know Jack Nicholson's no prize, but what the fuck, poor motherfucker with Shelley Duvall, like he was talking so much shit. When I was a little kid, he would like talk shit about Shelley Duvall, and I'm like, why are we talking about, because I always knew her as Olive Oil. So
Yeah.
I like, why are we talking about Olive Oil this way? Bless her heart. But yeah, she is. I would say that the mom is like that, but there's just some fun quality to her. Like,
Yeah. I love her.
because my mom is very flippant and kind of naive and like in the same vein, right?
Yeah.
And so you're right. They do become children as they get older.
Yeah.
Like my dad's in town. I found myself yelling at him the other day like a child. I'm like,
But so that basically wraps up the whole movie of Housebound. So I'm pretty sure I know how this is going to go. But Aid, would you recommend this movie to people?
Oh, of course. Yes. I love this movie.
Yeah. Austin.
Yes, I rated it a 4.5 out of 5. I thought it was brilliant. So absolutely recommend. And make sure you watch it on Shudder and don't do what Aid did and watch it with commercials on Tubi.
Yeah, because it's 2 hours on Tubi. And
Oh
I
my
was like, I
goodness.
don't remember this movie being so long. Like
That is one thing that I did, if I did have to, because I'm probably going to steal Austin's rating. I didn't put it on Letterboxd yet because I didn't want Austin to see it. But there's one small complaint, and it's that it's a little tiny bit long. It's an
That's
hour and
my-
42, I think.
Hour
six.
46. Yeah, it kind of, and also in like the middle, it kind of like dragged. It's like a little dragged out for me. So that's my only complaint is the
Yeah.
length. That's
But overall, with the whole package, I forgive it.
Yeah.
But yes, so before I forget, we are coming up with a special episode soon. It's going to be a side piece episode, meaning an extra episode for you guys this month for the Terror Train remake and the Terror Train remake sequel. If you would like to hear us cover the original Terror Train, listen to Frightmares Podcast, which is Austin's podcast. We covered that all together. And also we did the Frightmares Podcast with the top 12 Christmas movies. Austin, I listened to your New Year's top 10
Yes.
episode.
Did it
And
sound cohesive?
yes, but I have to say I love what you did because it was I wouldn't even have thought about it. Like, so if you haven't heard it, the way it's structured is you have 3 co-hosts essentially, but essentially you're interviewing them about their 10 favorite movies. Meanwhile, in each segment, you're doing the 10 worst movies, the 10 runner-ups, and the 10 best movies with each different co-host. And I was like, that's so unique. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah, I watched so many. I'm like, I have to do, and it's hard to get 4 people in the studio, so I just do it that way because it's like, you know, I watch so many. I'm like, why don't I give my worst and then runner-ups? Because I don't want to exclude some things. So I'm like, I have to talk about all the movies I possibly can. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Now, Adrian, can you send us home, please?
Yes, I will send us home. So if you'd like to support us monetarily, you can go to patreon.com/slasherspod. We'd love to have you part of the family. You know, there's a lot of good perks with that, including our Discord. So if you want to actually talk to us and we'll talk back with you throughout the day, please feel free to join in, as well as extra episodes, other goodies, and maybe an episode request if you'd like one. If you'd like any clothing, hats, t-shirts, thongs, titty tape, whatever. with the
Dental
Jen Show on
dams.
it. Dental dams.
Coming in 2023.
Yeah.
Jake, personally made by Jake. You can go to slasherspod.redbubble.com. We have any and all designs there for you. And again, we don't make any money off of that, guys. We just want you to have it. So please feel free to go on there. In fact, we have some surprises coming to Austin soon. So I can't wait for him. I can't wait for someone to model them for us at some point. So
They will, yeah, very, very soon after they are into this world, they will be modeling that, and I will be posting that all over social media for everybody to see.
thank you. And then, of course, if you'd like to follow us, we're on Instagram at SlashersPod or Mutant Goons from Beyond, as well as Facebook at Slashers Podcast. And you can join the Mutant Goons from Beyond page. We're constantly all over the place. But if you're messaging or sending, any kind of pics, remember that I'm on most of them and I'm adminning most of them. So just please, I don't want to see penis. Please stop the penis and stop trying to buy me, and the sugar daddy shit needs to stop. So thank you.
You can send it to me.
Send it to Mikey. 4.5 shell.
Yes. 4.5 shell, or on Letterbox. You can, not for the penis pictures, but you can follow me on Letterbox to see my thoughts on movies at Mikey and the T-Rex. Austin, you are on Letterbox as
Dr. Proctor.
Dr. Proctor. And again,
Why does
Frightmares
it sound like
Podcast.
he's a proctologist when we say
I know.
that every
Missed
time?
opportunity. Missed opportunity in life. I really should have just become a doctor that was a proctologist because I'd be the ass end of every joke.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
I thought we were adults here.
No.
But anywho, that brings us to a close. It was a really fun episode. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate y'all. And without further ado, goodbye and good day.
Bye.
Bye.